welcome again to the Philly Factor. I'm your host, Paul Perrello. Well, everyone knows Philadelphia is a city of neighborhoods, and they also know that Philadelphia is a city of culture and fine art. And I am so happy when we're able to bring a guest to the table and here to the program to talk about their work, and in particular, the area of fine art and the opening of a new fine art gallery in Germantown. I want to welcome Stephen C.W. Taylor to the Philly Factor. Stephen, thanks for being with us.
Much appreciated, and thank you for having me.
The art gallery is something new in the Germantown section. It opened in September, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is really a location, a destination for people, not only in the Germantown neighborhood, but for anybody who appreciates and loves fine art. And we're going to talk about where the gallery is located and what the gallery has to offer. It's the Ubuntu Art Gallery in Germantown. So what allowed you, or what caused you to open this gallery in Germantown, Stephen?
Well, I've how do you say, I'm extensively traveled, and kind of understand the ways in which art impacts the life experience of the people around that live around galleries or art museums and things like that. And I was thinking of ways to impact my community. I'm from Germantown, born and raised here. And as a photographer, I stumbled upon another photographer who had a model of a gallery like this. So when I decided I was going to do it, I thought no better place than where I'm from.
Yeah, I mean, you could have located the gallery anywhere, but you made a specific decision, a choice to locate this in your neighborhood, in your hometown of Germantown. You've been open now for about a month. A month, okay. So how has the gallery been received amongst the residents of Germantown, as well as people who really have an appreciation for fine art?
It's been received very, very well. The Germantown residents have received me very, very warmly. They always tell me how much the gallery is needed, how nice it is, what a welcome addition it is to the space. And we've gotten visitors from Delaware, New Jersey. Somebody drove up from Maryland, DC, and in a month's time, we've sold about 15 pieces. We've gotten a lot of good support, a lot of good press, and I think people recognize my idea as being a good one, so I think they're kind of all for it.
And we can get into a discussion of fine art, because some people, I think, may be intimidated by the term fine art. They may say, well, I would really like to go to the art gallery, Stephen, but I'm not quite sure what to expect. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for or what I'm even looking at. They sort of get intimidated. I mean, I remember as a student at LaSalle back in the day, that was the first time as a student. LaSalle has a nice art gallery, a very fine, exquisite art gallery here on campus. But I remember as a college student stepping foot inside the walls of the Philadelphia Art Museum for the first time. I mean, here I was a college student. You would think, okay, maybe I should have gone many years before. But I guess I was, being a kid from South Philly, I was sort of intimidated to go to the art museum and explore. And so people might even be a little apprehensive, or maybe your art gallery is a little more welcoming because it's in Germantown and people can relate with that on a smaller scale than the bigger art museums.
Yeah, that's very common. That's, oftentimes the idea of exclusivity is what fine art brings, the idea of pretentiousness. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. People don't feel like it's for them unless you're a certain type of person, and they may not view themselves as that type of person. I kind of break it all the way down. Fine art is based on materials. The materials that you use that go into creating the art is what makes fine art. Will it last 150 years with this color rendition because you used the correct materials? I designed the gallery to be very welcoming. I didn't want the pretentious feel. The gallery is a space for healing. The gallery is a space for experience through new questions. So imagine if, and this is a question to you, imagine if you could walk down the street and you walked past the gallery every day in your neighborhood, on your corner of your block, somewhere where you frequented. Would you have felt the same apprehension? I didn't, because I went to the art museum and things like that when I was a kid. My mom took us there. It was free on Sundays, so that was a thing for us to do. On the Sundays, we would go to the art museum. I have that experience, so it kind of broke it down for me. I was never intimidated to go into any galleries, and I'm building this model based off of other photographers, more specifically Peter Lick. He's probably the most famous, well-known, I'll say richest for lack of better words, of the $10 million prints or images that I've sold. He has 6. I was never intimidated to walk into the gallery. Mm-hmm. I asked a ton of questions. I've gone to the gallery 5-10 times in doing research for my space, looking at the lighting situation and things like that. And I never wanted the people who came into my gallery to be as intimidated as maybe my friend was when he went with me to Peter Lick's gallery. So this gallery was designed with the intention that it wouldn't be pretentious and that it would be welcoming to and for everybody. And the people will be able to come in here to relate to the artwork itself and not feel like this place is exclusionary.
Sure. So give us an idea. If we were to walk into your art gallery, what are some of the works that we're going to see? Now, I know you are a very well-traveled individual and you are a wonderful photographer. I suspect that we're going to see some of your photography there in the art gallery, but what else can we expect to see there in the gallery?
In the gallery, you'll see some plants. You'll see some artifacts that I brought back from my travels. You'll see the images, which are very stark. You can't miss them. They're big 40 by 60s. I call them portals, in which the visitor can disappear into a portal when they come in. When you walk right in, you'll see the OG number 2, which is a picture of a Maasai and elder that I got when I was in Kenya. I spent the night in the bush with the Maasai. The gallery represents 6 of the 18 countries that I've traveled to, including the United States. We have Bali, Barbados, Brazil, Abu Dhabi, and of course the United States, and 3 different national parks. I wanted the gallery to have a little bit of something for everybody. So we have people, we have landscapes, we have structures, we have a Ferris wheel in here. So it's something for everybody. I think when people first walk in, they'll recognize how nice it is. It's a former Cunningham piano showroom, decked out with really high ceilings. We refinished the original floors, so it's a really nice maple. And I think they'll feel at home. Most importantly.
And that is very important, is that you've created an environment in where people will feel welcome and they'll feel at home. They'll feel comfortable in the space. And I like the idea of like the portals that you talked about, because it's one thing to go into a museum and stare at a wall and stare at a picture or a painting or whatever, but it's another thing to sort of have that experience with that photo or that picture, to feel like you've been enveloped or you sort of are drawn into the picture. I think that's part of the experience that people are looking for when they go to an art gallery. And I suspect that that's the type of experience, the intimate type of experience they're going to get at your gallery, Stephen.
Absolutely. I want each visitor to build a tangible relationship with the pieces. Similar to the tangible relationship you would build to your favorite book. The way it smells, how the pages feel and things like that. With my images, when you come in, you can create a tangible relationship and say, I wonder what this person is thinking, or I wonder what that monkey was doing. I wonder if this zebra is a boy or a girl because of the way it's looking at me. What were they thinking? Can I dive in this water right here? Maybe I can hike this trail. The images are kind of built for that.
Some of those images that you just described, I like taking photos, and I think, we've undergone a tremendous revolution with taking photos on our cell phones today. I mean, dare I even say that I probably somewhere in here, I still have I know I still have a 35 millimeter camera somewhere in this house, but, cell phones have made it so easy to capture images. But, what I'm probably taking pictures of and what you're taking pictures of are probably at the opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, how do you determine as a photographer, as an artist, as a gallery owner, how do you determine, Stephen, what is a piece of work as opposed to, well, that's a nice photo?
Well, for me, everything is a piece of work, potentially. I don't know what I'll do with it in 10 years. So right now I might say it's just a photo, and in 10 years it's a piece of work. So I break it down to files. My files are raw files, and those raw files can always be turned into pieces of work. So anything that I ever shoot can always be incorporated into a new collection. Right now we have 21 pieces in this inaugural collection, and we'll be rolling out new collections, with 3 or 4 pieces at a time going forward. And, my entire hard drive is at my disposal.
I have to ask, being a photographer, are you taking, dare I say, photos on film, or is everything digital today for you?
Everything is digital for me. I don't know if it's fortunately or unfortunately, I wasn't like a photography buff growing up as a kid. I picked up photography after 30. And I came at it from the aspect of an engineer. How does the machine work? How to master the machine itself. So I can't say that I'm like a photo buff, and I don't want to disrespect the film, its origination. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not appropriating anything. I'm just using the tools that were available when I kind of came into it.
I think your background, if I read correctly an article about you, that your background is in engineering. I think you just mentioned that. So did you ever in your wildest dreams think you would go from that engineering background into being the owner of a fine art gallery?
I live with the philosophy that everything leads to something else. So, yeah, once I kind of planned it, I knew that the skills are transferable. So I'm utilizing the skills that I've developed over the 13 years that I spent at Booz Allen Hamilton, and incorporated those directly into my gallery, with the ability to learn something else going forward. So, I never say never. So, if an idea that I don't have right now will be an idea that I do have later. So all of my wildest dreams, I'll always achieve.
So let's talk where the gallery is located in Germantown and the hours of operation when people can come in and pay you a visit.
The gallery is free to the public Thursday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's located in the historic Germantown section of Philadelphia at 5423 Germantown Avenue, 19144. It is on the same block as Uncle Bobby's coffee shop, and directly across the street from Germantown Friends School. As I mentioned earlier, it was the former showroom for Cunningham Piano, and Cunningham Piano is located around the corner on Coulter Street.
Okay. When you embarked on this endeavor, when you knew that you wanted to open a gallery, give us sort of like a timeline of when the idea was sparked until opening the doors in September, and seeing your dream actually become a reality for you.
So in 2017, I went to a tech conference in Vegas. I managed a piece of software called Tableau for my company. And I went to the tech conference. I was there for about 3 or 4 days. I don't gamble, so Vegas really isn't that fun outside of that. Once I saw a few shows, but I really kind of traversed the casinos for the galleries. And I stumbled across a gallery by the name of a photographer by the name of Peter Lick. And I was wild. When I walked in, I saw these, really big acrylic pieces of horses and buildings and Central Park, and they were just like majestic. And I'm a photographer, so I'm like, well, how the heck did he do that? Like, how does this work? Like, so during the 4 days that I was at the conference, I went to his mini galleries in Vegas 3 or 4 times. And I kind of broke it down, not being disrespectful to him, but I broke it down. That's a file. And I have the same files on my camera, even though the camera may not be a Hasselblad or, some type of 100 megapixel behemoth. But I have raw files too. So if that's just a raw file, how do I take my raw file and get there? So I had a trip scheduled to Antelope Canyon, Horseshoe Bend, and the Grand Canyon after the conference. So with the world of wonder that I had acquired from his galleries, I started shooting everything with the intention that I could print it. And that was in 2017. I did a ton of research on how to get my files to that, and that took me a really long time. It took me about 3 years to really build the skills to do it. I found the building that I wanted in 2018. I signed the lease in 2019. Through COVID and building delays, we just opened September 5th, 2021. So it was a labor of patience. I had to be really patient, and the delays kind of helped me. They helped me refine the skills that I spent 4 years kind of toiling with and learning to a space where I felt really, really, really comfortable in what I was going to be able to produce, for the gallery. So that's a pretty accurate timeline on how long it took me, and it took a while to acquire the skills. You can print anything. You can take a file and go print it. But there's also some science around color, around how to prepare your file for the paper, for the size that it's going to be, since they're really big. And those were some things that I didn't have a good grasp on, that I really had to really, really, really understand viscerally, so that I can then explain it to my visitors and my customers when they come in.
Sure. So are we seeing original artwork from you as well as other artists in your gallery?
No, the gallery only houses my artwork based on the model that I'm working on. So the gallery will only ever house works of Stephen C.W. Taylor.
Okay. And a lot of all of those works then are from your perspective as you have traveled around the world. And I suspect that you, as the owner and the proprietor of this gallery, then find yourself in the position of, what do I include in the gallery, and what do I perhaps hold off for the next few months or next year or whatever. I mean, that puts you in a really difficult position, because I suspect that all of your work is brilliant, but how do you determine then, Stephen, what is included and what maybe will have to wait a year or so before it goes on display?
That is a very good question. And it was the hardest thing of this entire gallery experience. I started with about 40 pieces that were going to be in the gallery. Then I trimmed it down to 30. And then, once I knew how big they were going to be and how they would sit in the room, it could only be 21. I have terabytes of data. It was very, 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 very hard. So what I kind of did was, as I took things that I thought people would relate to, but a lot of different things that I thought people would relate to. So the last trip I took was heavy on my heart. I went to Kenya. I was in Lamu, Kenya, November 2020. And we have about 4 or 5 images of the 21 pieces from Lamu. It was the closest thing to how I felt at the time. So they got preference on some level. Not that something that I took in Rome wasn't better. It just didn't feel the same way. So, I do a lot of things off of feeling. So they spoke to me. I put them on the hard drive. I put them in Lightroom. I looked at them. I looked at a bunch of them, put them in groups, looked back and forth. and the ones that spoke to me the most went into the gallery. The ones that didn't speak to me as much didn't make the cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there one? This is that proverbial question that oftentimes people ask, like, which is your favorite child? So of all the 21 pieces of artwork that are there, Stephen, is there one that sort of resonates more with you than the others?
Absolutely. And it's actually the largest piece in the gallery. It's 48 by 72. And it's called the Isaac. It's of a waterfall of glacier melt, with the big mountain in the background, taken at Glacier National Park. And it's special to me, and hence why I call it the Isaac. Isaac is my friend who I met at the head of the trail that I took the picture on. Didn't know him before. We went on this hike together. Grinnell Glacier Trail is a 12-mile round trip hike up to the top of the glacier and back down. At the beginning of the trail, I hear a voice behind me and says, "Hey, you ever hiked this before?" And I say, "No." He said, "You going up?" I say, "Yeah, eventually. I'm getting there." He says, "You want to go up together?" And I say, "Absolutely. Heck yeah, I want to go up together." He seems seasoned. We kind of vibed. His energy was good. So 6 miles up, we best friends, fast friends. He works on at the time he worked on Black Hawk helicopters for the military. Wow. So we're talking about our engineering experiences in the different fields that we work in and things like that. So we get to the top of the glacier, to the top of the trail. We see the glacier. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. It looks good. And I'm ready to go back down. He said, "Man, I see some people over there." And I say, "Yeah, I see them too. Let's go over there." I tried my best to talk him out of it, and it didn't work. But he convinced me to take him out, walk him out off of the trail, and walking him out off of the trail got me this magnificent shot. And I couldn't have been more thankful to him for convincing me to take the risk to go off the trail. I got that shot, and I named it after him. I called it the Isaac. And we got back down to the head of the trail before it got dark, so we didn't have to worry about any bears.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Where this conversation would be totally different today if that was
absolutely.
We just have a few minutes left, and I'm going to have to make a visit to the gallery because just the way you described the Isaac, and just to see that is well worth the visit. But again, we want to encourage people to visit Stephen's gallery in Germantown. It's a beautiful addition to historic Germantown, and I know some people will say, "Well, Stephen, this is just a hobby of yours," and not to diminish what it is that you do. This is not a hobby, but I can tell that this is very much a passion. Not only your photography, but this fine art gallery is your passion today.
Absolutely. I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. All of the things, all of the potential that we can do within the gallery. We just got an inquiry for a wedding reception here at the gallery. We're building out the programming and curriculum. The gallery will also function as a museum. So you would take a field trip to the art museum, you would take a field trip to the gallery, and, we will build curriculum, around printing, around photography, around some sociology, around some geology. Oh man, forget the word, but where places are.
Geography.
That one. Geography. And also, each picture tells a story, so we can kind of dive into, my night in the bush with the Maasai, or, the monkey in Bali, or, hidden in the mangroves, which are some young men kind of hidden in the mangroves, literally, in Lamu, Kenya. So there's a lot of education around the gallery. We also want to help educate our visitors and the public around art, its significance, how it helps, not how it helps, but how art is part of financial portfolios for longevity, and teaching on the mediums, the format, the paper, the ink, the limited editions, the sizes. So there's a lot of educational components around the gallery itself that we're in the process of documenting and making more streamlined.
In the minute that we have left, Stephen, what does this mean for you personally to give back to your community? I mean, it's great that you have opened this gallery, put your work on display, and we may have touched on this earlier in the program, but the fact that it's in Germantown, the fact that this is something that is yours, something that you are putting in your neighborhood, what does that mean to you?
It means a great deal. I'm from Chew Avenue, in between Locust and Woodlawn. LaSalle is right up the street from me. You know, I'm from here. I moved back to Philadelphia before I was going to open a gallery because I felt I needed to be I wanted to be a tangible example. I went to DC and got a ton of intellect and a ton of experience, and I wanted to share it with my community by being there. You know, we've owned our house on Chew Avenue for 50 years. You know, my mom was the first Black family on the 5600 block of Chew Avenue, which to me is really, really, really important. My grandmother lived on Lena Street, which is around the corner from the gallery. You know, I was too young. She passed when I was younger, but her and my older brothers will walk down Germantown Avenue to the thrift stores, to Value City, to the department stores when there was department stores off of Shelton Avenue. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in this space that could be considered as negative, and it gets reported heavily. The space is not known for its beauty. It's not known for how great its people are. It's known for all of the other stuff, which is, in my opinion, a small component of what that is. So when I decided that I wanted to do the gallery and put it here, it was so that, you know, the same kids that I see every day on the corners on my block could have the opportunity to come to the gallery, get a larger experience, and potentially ask themselves a new and larger question. Not to save nobody, not to be some sort of hero or anything like that, but just to give access to new questions for the people that I care so deeply about. And my neighborhood is something that I care very, very, very deeply about.
I can tell that. And Stephen, I want to thank you for your time. I want to wish you continued success with the gallery, and we encourage people to come out and pay a visit. And again, I look forward to making a stop there and seeing it for myself. And thanks again for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great interview, and I appreciate you as well.
All right, Stephen Taylor, our guest here on this edition of the Philly Factor. I'm going to thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Philly Factor.